In 1988, Porsche first proposed the idea of a four-door model with its controversial 989 concept. A few years later, management pulled the plug, claiming that such a car wouldn't be a true Porsche. But 7 years after the Cayenne, a Porsche sedan doesn't seem so far-fetched. Enter the Panamera. Everyone wants a Porsche, but does that mean Porsche should make a model for everyone? From a business perspective, it makes plenty of sense. To a Porsche loyalist, it can be a hard concept to grasp.
I guess if I had to do my Porsche list, it would be 911 GT2, 911 GT3, that new sport design one with the double bubble roof, and then the Boxster S, and then the Cayman S, and then the Cayman, and then the Boxster, and then the push toy that I'm going to get for my kid, and then the tie tack and the keychain and the cufflinks they sell you. And then after that, we would have a four-door Porsche that weighs 1 million pounds and costs $1 million.
Okay, so it doesn't really weigh 1 million pounds, and it doesn't cost $1 million either. But with a base price of $90,000 and a curb weight of over 4,000 pounds, this is a very expensive car, and it's pretty heavy too. There's a demographic that will love this car, but Porsche's insistence on marketing it as a four-door 911 only confuses the matter.
They told us at the media briefing that from the front seat it was just like a 911. Again, it's just not true. It couldn't be any less like a 911. It's more like just all other German sedans. So, it has a 5-dial dash like a 911, but one of the dials is a video screen, which is not very 911-like. What 911 is supposed to have is a gauge that says, hey, your oil's too hot, your motor's about to explode, you're about to go backwards into a tree. And it doesn't even really have this gauge. It has a tiny oil pressure gauge, and it's damped. You can see that it doesn't directly mechanically connect to anything. So what we have here, it's kind of a costume party 911. It'd be like if I dressed up as a really skinny, good-looking guy like Brad Pitt for Halloween. Yeah, well, I got all the stuff on me like Brad Pitt, Troy, or whatever. I got my leather stuff, but I'm not really Brad Pitt. I'm actually some big fat guy.
Spend a few minutes inside the Panamera, and it becomes even more obvious that this is not your typical Porsche.
The interior is clearly passenger-focused. Even though this is a Porsche, you've got a long back seat, got plenty of legroom. There are many options you can have in back, up to and including that famous chauffeur button that pushes the passenger seat forward on the right side so the Sultan can stretch his legs a little bit. It's obviously the most passenger-focused Porsche in history. I mean, the passenger seat of the 914 didn't even move. It was bolted to the ground, and now you've got a Porsche with a passenger seat that moves with a button.
But none of this means it isn't fun to drive. It's a lot of fun. In fact, it's more fun to drive than any other full-size sedan money can buy. It's easy to feel torn over this car.
As a Porsche aficionado, I'm inclined to give it an F. But when I get in the car and drive it, I say, hey, I'd kind of rather have this than one of those BMW 7 Series. Yeah, I'd rather have it than an S-Class Mercedes. So if you're going to shop it against those cars, it really is better and more exciting. But if you're a 911 intender, if you've had a stack of 911s, if you're like me, got a 911 and a Boxster at home, it's not going to replace either one of those. This is really less like any Porsche I've ever driven and more like an enormous Audi S4.
But that's not a bad thing. After all, the S4 is a fantastic car. A bigger, faster, and more luxurious take on that formula has a lot of potential. We had limited drive time behind the wheel of the Panamera, but based on our impressions, the handling is best in class and the interior is sufficiently competitive. Ultimately, potential buyers will have to decide whether they're prepared to pay a premium over the competition in order to own this car. Just don't think about it too hard. Porsche ownership has never been about practicality and numbers. With this car, it's no different.